Alright guys, since you are starting to base, I thought I'd put a quick video together of some things that I've done that I like the results of, and it's pretty quick and fast, especially when you have a lot of models that are painted and you just need to base them. I've done this in the past where you've got your, you put down your glue, and then you add in some, kind of your modeling, your train gravel and things like that with some larger ones that you just glue onto the base. But it does take a little while, and I don't really like the results as much as I do using the texture paints from Citadel. I do all of my armies in Astro Granite texture paint just because I stick to like the, I don't know, moon bases and things like that. Here's a base that I've used for taking some pictures with that I just whipped up real fast. I'm gonna do this assassin here. I'm gonna base it real quick and show you kind of what I do and the steps that I take. I will start first with the texture paint. And so what I'll do is I use this tool here, which is very nice, the texture tool. So when I need to get a big gulp of it, a big pile of texture paint, I'll use this end. And when I'm really getting into intricate between the legs, around feet, things like that, I'll use this end. But I typically use this for getting it out. You don't really shake it because it's so thick, but it does have a sandy take to it. So as you can tell, I've used this one almost all the way. See if I can get anything out of it. And I try and conserve these as much as possible, but basically I'll get a little bit out there and I'll just start working it on. Scraping it on there. Try and make a thin layer because really you're just looking for coverage. I mean, you can try and make mounds of it to kind of give more texture, but really I don't mind using just making it nice and flat because it's so gritty. You're gonna see the detail of it stick out, the texture of it stick out whenever you dry brush it, which is what we'll do here in a little bit. And this one is running out, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up another one. Nothing like open up a new fresh pot, and this one's a lot better quality. So again, I'm gonna keep working it around. It's okay, I'm actually gonna get some onto this base that she comes with, just to blend it in a little bit better. Now, something I have been trying to do now recently is lay all my bases out at once. And actually, I'll just go through and do all of my bases like I'm doing this right here. But it's so much faster when there's not a model on it. So again, I'm making sure to cover all the black all the way out to the edge so I don't see any of the base. So it's really wet and nasty, but what I'll do is you don't really want your texture on the side because when you paint the rim of your base, you're going to see that. So I'll just take my finger and go along the edge. And it doesn't matter if there's gray or whatever color your texture paint is. It doesn't really matter. And then I'll kind of dry it and roll it off my finger there. But I just clean up the edge and set it there. We'll let it dry. As dry as you can get it. You want it to be super dry so that a little black spot there. You want it to be super dry so that when you put your wash on, it doesn't start mixing with the wash, and then your wash just messes up because this is still wet and it's gray, so it starts to mix. So I'm gonna clean this off real quick and let this dry, and we'll get the wash on, and then we'll do dry brushing. Alright, now that my basing is dry, I'm going to get some Nuln Oil, just because mine is gray, so Nuln Oil is going to match the best if you're using a mud or sand or any texture paint that has a brown tint to it. You're going to want to use Agrex Earthshade. But I'm just going to use Nuln Oil, use quite a bit of it. Take my model, spread it around. And the more you spread it around, the faster it will dry. Again, this is another step that you're going to have to wait to make sure that it is 100% dry, because the next step is going to be dry brushing. And when you start doing that, if it's your wash isn't dry, then again you're going to start mixing colors, and it's not going to look very good. At least not have the results that we want. So I'm going to go ahead and rewash the base here. And that's pretty much it. Just make sure you're getting it coated. It's okay if you get it on the sides. That's not going to cause any issues, since you'll be painting over that. And that's it. I'm going to let this sit and dry, and then we'll start our dry brushing. Alright, now that my wash is dry, I'm going to start the third step of this, and that's going to be dry brushing. Now, people do this differently. There's a few different ways that you can do it. As you can see, I've done this before for dry brushing. But I'm going to use a paper towel this time. As you can tell, my really crummy brush that I just have totally obliterated from dry brushing has a blue tint from working on that reactor. But basically all you need to do is, I use white for my dry brushing with my bases, and it's not going to be really white because you're going to get some on this. It doesn't really matter how much. You're just going to work it into the brush. Mine's going to have a little bit of a blue tint, which is okay, but you want this completely dry. No white coming off like that. That's too much. So I can roll it and it's coming off that much. That is way too much on there still, and so I need to keep working it. You want just barely enough. See, I'm twisting on the edge just to make sure that I don't have enough on here, or a lot on here. That's the effect you want. When I can spin the brush around like that and it's just dusting it, that's perfect. So all I'm going to do is take my model and lightly brush the tops of it. You can already see it start to catch. Just the tops of it catch. Again, if you get some on the edge, doesn't matter. We're going to paint that later. So I'm just scraping across the top, working my way around. I'm going to hit the little bit of this base here, just so I'm blending in the base that she came with. Scraping the top there. I'm just catching the texture, basically. The goal is not to get white down the bottom. You want to leave that washed or gray, or whatever texture paint your color originally was. Now I'm going to work this a little bit on here, catch the edges, and I'm pushing pretty hard on the model just because this is so dry, which is good, which is what you want, that when you press down really hard and you hit those edges real hard, it'll catch. It doesn't really paint the center, but it'll catch the edges. So little crevices like that. See how now it makes the line? That's what you're wanting. I'll hit the edge right there. And then what I do is, a long time ago when I started this hobby, I went to Hobby Lobby and thought I knew what I was doing and bought a bunch of these paints. This actually happens to be a pretty good one. It's leather brown. It's what I do on my bases, the edge of my bases with. So I'm going to shake that up, and I'm going to paint the rim. I do a brown. Some people do black. It's really whatever you want to do, whatever color you prefer. I've seen black, green, like in the old fantasy style green. And I actually use a square brush if I can find it here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I just work this here, and then I just hit the edges like this. And I do 2 full coats, and I make sure to work in the same direction so it looks, nice and uniform. Just work it all the way around. Try and make even coats, even thickness. I don't even water it down. It doesn't. So this is just the rim. You kind of want it dark the first time. It's going to look streaky and all that, but when you clean it up with the second coat, it'll look real nice. But basically I would go through, hit that again the same way, let it dry, and be done. There's your completed basing.